Hey everyone, this is Black Child here. I'm gonna do a commentary, one of my own. Um, YouTube is cutting me down to only 15-minute shows per you know upload, so it's not gonna be very long. Um, the other day I saw these VMAs, and they had them this year in Brooklyn, which is funny because this is where I'm going to be going with this story here. You know, and the Barclays Center, Barclays, or who really own it. I mean, of course the bank owns the stadium. I mean, it's just kind of a show that Jay-Z owns it. He has some probably a partnership with them. A 1%, maybe a 3% thing. It's something very limited, I'm sure. But the reason why I'm bringing Jay-Z up is because I want to share a experience I had dealing with, um, you know, dealing with people that were associated with him, and but first I want to touch on these VMAs, and it was. I don't really make a habit out of watching them, but I saw it. I'm like, well, let's see. I watched it on the internet. I watch most of the stuff on the internet, and it was the year of the monarch slave, obviously. I mean, everyone who performed or won was basically a monarch slave, MPD, Uh, and then the other thing was, it was obvious that Jay-Z did have a part in, kind of how it would look, the end result of it, because the whole thing was about, mirrors and twinning, and it was a bunch of MK Ultra stuff, basically. Everything was a mirror. Like when you saw how they were presenting it, or when they were showing who was nominated, it was always mirrors. Which is that whole symbolism of duality, multiple personalities, all of this stuff, and so I'm looking at it like, why is everything backwards? He's like, that's his main thing. Talking about Aleister Crowley and doing everything backwards and writing it backwards, and that's what that was. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, okay, you could smell Jay-Z on it, and but then they have Lady Gaga opening up the show, which was really an induction. I'm looking at it like, why are they just showing her face? And then they had it designed where she had this thing on her head that was kind of blocking anything else out, but looking directly into her eyes, which is like an induction thing. That's really what that was. She was inducting you into this whole mind control show that they were about to do. That's why the news says that they do that same thing. They stare at you in the eyes and they talk to you and they, barely blink and all this stuff. And it's like hypnotizing you. It's really what that is. And then I'm like, why are they doing that? And then once you see the mirrors and the backward stuff, I'm like, okay, I understand now, And then they have, Miley Cyrus, who this whole Miley Cyrus thing, when they brought her out, it was a whole twinning thing. This is, if you've read Fritz Springmeier, it was Cisco Wheeler, who's revealing this information, but Fritz Springmeier wrote the book, and he talks a lot about twinning and mirroring and all of this stuff, and that's what that was when they had you know, a girl dressed up and acting like Miley Cyrus, but then it wasn't her. She introduced the real Miley Cyrus, and it was a whole twinning thing. And then, when you see Miley Cyrus, it's like, this is her, like, beta alter, her, like, sex-kin alter. Because, it's like she looks, like, she doesn't look like she's there. It looks like it looks like there's nothing. She's just, doing the moves. And then, in order to make this thing legitimate, her, shaking her ass and doing this twerking, they put black people, and then they show all the black people in the audience, like, so that means, Miley Cyrus is like, down with black people. It was just like, give me a break, and anytime they want to, like, make someone legitimate to the black, masses, they'll show the black people in the audience, like, dancing or clapping, And then we're all supposed to be like, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, he's down, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. Because basically the whole show was about just ripping, you know, black people stuff, singing, dancing. It was just like everything was just an odd ode to black people, basically, which could have been the Jay-Z thing, but then again, that they've been doing this for longer than Jay-Z, so um, she has all these black girls out there twerking, and she has like one girl with like this huge round fat ass, and she's like shaking it and putting her face in it, and it was just like kind of weird. And then Robin Thicke comes out in his like handler costume. It's like this like duality zoot suit type of thing that's like two sizes too small for him, and he's like he. It seemed to me that he was in the role of a handler type of thing. It was like a because she's under she's under Monarch programming, Miley Cyrus, and you could look in her face and just tell she wasn't there. It was like something else was taking over her. You know what I mean? And he's with this duality, and they love that is their favorite thing, duality. Checkerboard floors with everything. Everything is a checkerboard floor with these people, especially these Kardashians. They I can't do anything without that checkerboard floor, duality, white and black, you know, type of stuff. That's the only thing they can do is just checkerboard floor. And so he comes out with this thing, and then, he's like, I don't know who's copying off of who. Robin Thicke's copying off of Justin Timberlake, or it's the other way around. I mean, Justin Timberlake has been out before Robin Thicke, I'm assuming. So I guess Robin Thicke stole some of the stuff from Justin Timberlake, but then again, they all share those same vocal demons, because they sound alike. All these people sound the same. It's like the same voice. And Robin Thicke and Justin Timberlake, that's like they have the same voice. It sounds like you're like, wait, who's which? They have the same voice, which I'm assuming it could be these same demons they share, because they all go into rituals, which is why they gave Justin Timberlake this Minuteman marathon. I was skipping through the majority of the stuff. I wasn't really watching them sing. I was just kind of trying to see if they were doing any sacrifice on the stage, but we didn't get to that point. But I was skipping through it, and I saw Justin Timberlake performing. I'm like, okay, and then I skipped through it some more, and he's still going, and I skipped through it some more, and he's still going. I'm like, wow, you know, he's like barely breaking a sweat, and went all the while wearing his like Masonic master top hat type of the same thing Madonna had on in that ritual, this top hat that they like doing, and it's not just the singers, because they did the Victoria's Secret fashion show, that main model, I think her name is Adriana, she has the one with the black hair, she looks like she's like Spanish or something, and she in the beginning of the show, it was where they had this guy Dave Matthews, and it was like a pre-screen kind of film, and he was wearing this top hat, that same worshipful master hat that they have, and he was passing it off to her, in this film. And then when the show opened up, she was wearing the hat, and flashing the Baphomet too. So I'm like, okay. So then I realized that was just some ritual that they do, this passing the hat, So I don't know who passed him that. I don't know if they did it in, some other thing, and then now it's a continuation. I don't know, but he was wearing it the whole time. Um, you know, he was. If you want to talk about monarch, a slave, Justin Timberlake is one of them, and you feel kind of bad for him, because he's one of these, the Disney kids. So it's like it wasn't even really his choice. His parents sold him in there. His mom is there clapping, and he's pretending that that guy is his father. I don't know who that black guy was, but I'm like, all right, Justin, like, don't push it now, because everybody at this show is trying to be black. They have this guy Macklemore, who I really haven't heard of until very recently. Um, and I mean, he was doing this whole gay ritual thing, where everything with him was this gay thing. He was just all with this gay thing, and equality, and and then they kept showing Lady Gaga and Will Smith, like they were just loving that whole gay thing. And so that was because I haven't really heard of this guy. So now they're pushing him in this group that he's in, and he's supposed to be like Vanilla Ice, reincarnated Vanilla Ice or something, and he's now he's in this, he's in the group now. Now you're gonna see him more often now with everything. So I guess he had to take part of some ritual. That's the whole idea. You want to be in this group, you're gonna be in some rituals for sure. And that whole gay thing he was doing, and then Jennifer Hudson came out and like initiated them. Seemed like that was what was going on. Because if you want to talk about somebody in rituals, Jennifer Hudson knows all about that kind of thing. So she, I guess, was initiating them, and it was just a bunch of other stuff. I mean, Will Smith was there with his kids, and those kids looked like, they were in like a spell. I'm just looking at these kids like, damn, he really sold them out. He really sold them. I mean, they look so under a spell, and then the girl looked a little bit more coherent than the son did. Then she looked like she was at least 60% there. I mean, the other one, he just looked like he was like totally out of it. And then Drake gets up there, and the whole time, which is what I actually want to bring up. I'm thinking about doing a film on this whole point up, point down thing they like doing. This is something that a hand gesture they do that the majority of people don't really see, and they do it all the time. I mean, it's one that they do frequently. And this whole show, everyone is doing point up, point down, index finger pointed down, index finger pointed up. Everyone's doing their gestures, and that was a big one they were doing, because I guess they're starting to realize now that people are onto them. With this whole Baphomet, this pyramid stuff. They know people. I mean, some of it is their doing. They want people to know, but at the same time, they're all doing this point the whole time, point up, point down. Just like, okay. And then when Drake was doing his little charade, that was all he was doing. That was really what he was doing. People think he was, just showing off, but it was the Baphomet. And then they showed Birdman doing the same thing, but he was doing it with two fingers, and he was doing it like you could, tell he was doing his gestures. This other like telling him, all right, it's time you do your gesture, Birdman, and he's like standing up there pretending he's like really into it, doing his gesture, which is point up, point down. So, that was that. And then who else? I mean, it was just basically the point I'm trying to get to was the whole thing was a MK Ultra show, and it was a show basically for the monarch slaves. It was all about twinning, mirroring, mirrors, backward stuff. Then Lil Kim came out, and it was like the girl she came out with, this white girl, was mirroring her. It was like a mirror type of twinning. It was all MK programming, because that woman, that white girl, is, I mean, that's basically who Lil Kim is. If Lil Kim like imagines herself in the mirror, it's probably this white girl. It's just like that. So I think it was a mirroring thing, and then Justin Timberlake wins this award after he does this like Minuteman, marathon performance. And then, this handler who is Jimmy Fallon, he gets up there. He's really a handler. That's why they had him, because he's a handler. And I guess he could have handled Justin Timberlake, because, Justin Timberlake did a lot of SNL stuff. I don't know if Jimmy Fallon was on, I don't know, but, he seems like he's a handler. All of those talk show people, they're they're all handlers. That's really I mean, some of them could be multiples themselves, and this is just their thing, handling others, but I don't know. But that's like becoming a TV, the late night talk show type of thing. That's like the highest you can go. In fact, if you see this guy, Jimmy Kimmel, he has as his like box art, his cover art for the show, is his face, pressed up against a piece of glass, which is like symbolizing the glass ceiling. He can't get any higher. You can't, in terms of the public eye, not in Satanism, not in the group he's in, but in the public world of Matrix, that's like he can't do anything higher than that, becoming late night talk show host. So that means that you have to be a handler.